Warplanes sent by Saudi Arabia have carried out more bombing runs into Yemen, targeting Houthi rebels in the south of the country. The airstrikes were ordered just hours after the end of a bombardment named Decisive Storm had been declared over. At this time, the targets were the supply compounds of Houthi rebels, as well as the headquarters of a military brigade that has been seized by Houthis. Now, the bombardment from above and the fighting on the ground has left civilians desperate to flee the country. And that includes many foreigners who are stuck in Yemen. And throughout the weeks of bombings, RT has been in touch with numerous US citizens trapped in the war-torn country. This is how they described it then.
Bombings every other day, a few bombings a day. So it's very, very scary right now. Nobody has helped us to evacuate.
I mean, I hear everything that goes on. We hear gunshots, we hear bombs, we hear airstrikes. I've been at home stuck for like two weeks.
I am stuck, like you could say, I'm in the middle of Yemen. There's like a 5-hour drive from here to Sana'a, and there is no transportation, there is no gas here. Me personally, I'm kind of, you could say, mad at the U.S. because we are American citizens and we never heard anything from them.
The US government, though, said there is no plan for the evacuation of its citizens. And that has been the message for several weeks now.
For more than 15 years, the State Department has been advising U.S. citizens to defer travel to Yemen, and we've been advising those U.S. citizens who are in Yemen to depart.
We have encouraged all U.S. citizens to shelter in secure locations until they are able to depart safely.
When you said that you alerted them to opportunities to leave the country,
Correct.
What are those opportunities now? Like swim? Well, come on. I mean, the airports are closed. How are they going to get?
So the one that we sent out on
Go
April...
to Aden, jump in the water. What?
A number of Americans, though, did manage to flee on board planes organized and coordinated by the Russian embassy. RT's Murad Gazdiev was on one of the very latest flights that took Russians and foreigners out of the conflict zone.
As we touched down in Yemen, one thing soon became clear. The faster we took off again, the better.
People's possessions are now being loaded onto the plane. They themselves are behind us at the terminal buildings over there. They should be over any moment now, but apparently there are hundreds of people waiting there. Americans, Russians, Ukrainians, even Britons. And the fear now is that not all of them will be allowed onto the plane. There's simply not enough space.
People we hadn't even contacted showed up. I saw someone with a British passport. We'll take them all.
Security is security, but in these chaotic times, they find themselves making exceptions.
We try to be understanding where we can. For example, if someone's passport is expired, we can process them in Moscow.
Well, boarding has begun. People are being ferried over from the terminal complex and are entering the plane. They're checking their passports right now. But not everybody made it. Many people couldn't make it to the airport in the first place because of bombed out roads, because of lack of fuel. So a lot of desperation here as well. People are missing family members.
Others got lucky, making it by the skin of their teeth.
My cousin, he contacted us from US and he get hold of the Russian airport, whatever. I don't know how he do that contact with them, and he called us and he tell us yesterday. All we know about this yesterday. So we came from the village and it's like 5-hour drive. We crossed the bridge. 20 minutes later, there is a missile hit that bridge we crossed.
I couldn't make it out, so I had to wait. It took me about 3-4 weeks to find a flight out of Sana'a. I started calling airlines, agencies, UN, Russian embassy.
Were there no American planes?
No. Americans, no. They just kept sending us emails.
And those apparently weren't all that useful.
And they said, basically, find your way out.
How?
Any other means, the Russians, the UN, the IOM, the Indians.
Soon enough, 2 packed planes filled with international refugees left Sana'a for the African coast. We arrive in Djibouti, host of America's biggest military base on the continent. The relief was palpable. But why had people taken so long to leave Yemen a place they themselves said was a nightmare.
But why didn't you leave when you got the travel warning from the U.S. consulate?
Well, I had the trip, but the war starts before it in 2 days, so they said there's no more trips, no more flights, so yeah, I was just tight.
So you left on a Russian plane instead of an American one?
Yeah, I mean, there was no American plane, only the Russian plane. They called me. I mean, all I'm trying to say is thank you very much to the Russian embassy because they called me and wanted to help me out. So yeah, I'm really appreciative.
How do you feel emotionally now that you're out?
Yeah, absolutely good, absolutely nice.
But many still have loved ones trapped in Yemen.
I have to think about the next step to make sure that my family is safe. This is priority for me. So I will try my best to get them out of Yemen, and if we can, like, start a new life somewhere else until, you know, things settle down a little bit in Yemen.
But as the conflict rages on, just when that will be is anybody's guess. Murad Gazdiev, RT.
There have been a total of 9 flights sent by Moscow dispatched to get people out of Yemen. A total of over 1,000 people from 20 different countries have now been taken to safety, though many are still trapped. We spoke to one American whose family is still stuck in the conflict zone. She says they are simply being abandoned.
It's heartbreaking. I mean, it's very difficult. We are living it minute to minute, hour to hour on Twitter and Facebook and the news, and it's been very traumatic for us because we're very far and we have family members out in Yemen. We have friends. For a very long time, the American media narrative has always been a security narrative. When it comes to Yemen, it's always been ACAP, and largely for the most part, Yemen has been ignored. Since the Saudi airstrikes, there's been some coverage, but again, people don't know what the hell is actually happening.
Well, despite the situation in Yemen, the U.S. government is reiterating that there is no concrete plan in place and is telling its citizens to look for other options. We spoke to one man who was trying to bring trapped Americans back home. He says it's getting harder all the time.
We have so many Americans that are still trapped in Yemen. We were finally able to evacuate some people through an individual work, through an assistance of others, whether it's an organization or other commercial that we had before. Americans are really in a bad situation. Some people are still stuck at home. They don't know their way around. Some people might have some connections here and there to be able to get them through the board. Some others were able to escape through Djibouti. We try to bring media attention and public awareness as much as we can.
Yeah, for more on the plight of foreigners as well as their personal accounts from the conflict region, just find those details at rt.com.